For a very long time, going back to the early 1980s, the people in this neighborhood looked down on this waterfront, which was in a state of transitioning from marine use to derelict landscape, and imagined a park. You know how little access to the water in this kind of experience New Yorkers have. I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of demand for additional means of access. I think that the amount of use that will be seen in this park will be unprecedented. It will be jaw-dropping next year. We're seeing a reimagining of New York City with respect to open space, unequaled in its history since the idea of the city was grappled with in the 19th century, and people like Olmsted and others really, asked the question of what a park needs to be in the city. The design of Brooklyn Bridge Park is all about the water, and not in an abstract way, but in a very visceral way. The main circulation spine of the park is curved and irregular, and it's all about pointing you towards and away from the water. When the paths turn like they do in this park, the landscape is actually presented, or the city, or Brooklyn Bridge, or the Manhattan Bridge, or Lower Manhattan, that the experiences of a kind of spatial connection to what's around you. And that's a sort of another dimension of how the design of the park connects you not only to the water, but to the urban circumstances that are with the water. And there's a reimagining of the water taxi system, and a notion that eventually the park on the east side, Governor's Island over there, these will all be tied together with the boating system. We're absolutely challenged by access in this location. You can certainly see in the background Moses's Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, and of course that creates one of the great urban moments in New York City, which is the Brooklyn Heights Promenade. But the consequence of that wall being built into the side of Brooklyn Heights is a difficulty of gaining access to Brooklyn Bridge Park. The park is designed at its entrances first like a series of neighborhood parks that then eventually string together through the middle to make more of a metropolitan park. The places where we are hardwired into the city, we've made sure we have playgrounds, we have active recreation, we have extremely welcoming entries. At the Atlantic Avenue entrance, there's a huge new playground that's next to a neighborhood that's just busting with young families and kids and very little open space. One of the innovative ideas that came along with the neighborhood imagining this park was that they would go to city and state government and say, we want to structure this park in a way that there is a long-term autonomy for maintenance. I mean, the city and the state know that the long-term cost of a park isn't the capital cost of building, it's the expense annually of maintaining. We needed to master plan the park that imagined a revenue stream. So we imagined a contained residential at the edge. I also think that urbanistically, it's important to have people living down here. One of the things that we started to piece together in the beginning was that there were opportunities for relatively simple systems of building, elements that could be maintained, and salvage materials that we could use that began to weave themselves into a physical, formal solution that allowed us to be extremely sustainable. I think one of the most amazing things about landscape architecture is that you've made something that's alive. It is the essence of what a landscape is about. It's going to be great to hopefully grow old living nearby and coming here and seeing it grow into something quite different.